Welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for January 21st, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everybody to mute your cell phones and other electronic devices. And I'll ask Rob to do a roll call for attendance.
Thank you. Trustee Apatow?
Here.
Trustee Orsic?
Here.
Trustee Handler?
Here.
Trustee Albinson?
Here.
Trustee Dahlman?
Here.
President Rins.
Here. Item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll lead us this evening. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, quorum check.
Yes. February meetings, the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th. Any conflicts?
The 4th, I have a conflict for work.
Okay. You want to attend remotely, or? No, I'm going to be in the conference. Oh, you're right. Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I will have a conflict. I'm teaching down in Miami, but I'll be able to go remote.
Okay. Good?
And I am out the 11th for
Okay.
work in Atlanta.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. All right, item 4 is public comment. This is the time of the evening where anyone from the audience, they can come on up to the podium and share their thoughts with Village Council on any item that is not on the agenda. So if you're here to speak on One Winnetka, that has to wait till later, but if you want to talk to us about anything else, come on up. Oh, come on up. You didn't sign in, Irene. You signed in the wrong one. So you're not going to talk about One Winnetka?
No, I'm not.
Okay, good.
May I? Is that all right? Happy New Year. Is this okay?
Happy New Year.
So I signed in the wrong sign-in sheet?
That's okay.
Whatever. Good evening. Irene Smith, 38-year resident of Winnetka. I have 2 concerns tonight. As you know, Commissioner James Hemmings resigned on December 12th from the Winnetka Park District Board. In his letter of resignation, he described the Zoning Board of Appeals as intellectually strained. Here is his direct quote. The ZBA appears intellectually strained to appreciate the difference between public parks and traditional residential housing. I would like to say that I attended or watched all 3 of the ZBA meetings. Mr. Hemmings did not attend any of those 3 meetings. The ZBA held 12 hours of meetings and had thousands, literally, of pages to read. I found their meetings very thorough, professional, and fair. Mr. Hemmings even impugned the village trustees and staff when he said, the ZBA did not even understand basic concepts like littoral drift, demonstrating their abject lack of qualifications to mete out the ordinances the village has pushed upon them. Simply put, neither the village staff, nor the ZBA has the expertise to do what is best for this community when it comes to beaches and parks, and yet they have made themselves the ultimate arbiters of those projects. Now it's back to me again. I applaud the ZBA, you all, the trustees, and the staff. This is hard work. You are doing it so I don't have to. My second concern is that the Winnetka Park District has implied that the Village Council is holding up the reopening of Elder Beach. If you watch the video of last Thursday's park meeting, you'll hear this complaint. As you know, this year's caucus survey said that residents want Elder Beach opened in time for the 2025 swimming season. Has the Park District approached the Village Council with a request to clean up the dangerous hazards in the water at Elder? What role does the village play in preventing Elder Beach from opening? Again, thank you to the Village Council and its 3 subcommittees and staff for your thoughtful consideration of the park's plans for Centennial. These plans are enormous, expensive, overly engineered, and unnecessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irene. I'm tempted to comment, but I keep a little button up here on my desk to always remind me to keep my mouth shut when I'm upset when somebody says something that's untrue. We'll leave it at that. All I can say is that Mr. Hemming should understand what standards each of our approval boards is required to look at, and they don't need to know about littoral drift to understand zoning concepts. So I'm very disappointed in Mr. Hemmings. I thought he was a fine gentleman the few times I met him. It's sorry that somebody who served for less than 18 months can go to the press and shoot their mouth off like that, and it's unacceptable. Moving forward, item 5 is the reports. Trustees, we'll start with Tina.
No report.
Kirk.
No report.
Kim.
No report.
Bridget.
No report.
And Rob.
None tonight.
Village Attorney.
No report.
Village Manager.
No report this evening.
And Village President. I think I just gave one. All right, item 6, establish the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any of the items on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
That's a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move forward with the approval of the consent agenda, and I will ask the village clerk to read those items.
Thank you. Approval of the Village Council minutes for December 10th, 2024 study session, December 17th, 2024 regular meeting, and January 7th, 2025 regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated December 27th, 2024 through January 16th, 2025 in the amount of $961,448.93. Resolution number R01-2025 approving an easement agreement for the installation and maintenance of utilities at 931 Green Bay Road. Resolution number R02-2025 approving a change order number 1 to the contract with Cintas Corporation number 2 for uniform rental and laundry services. Resolution number R08-2025 approving the purchase of a Public Works New Elgin Pelican Street Sweeper from Standard Equipment. Resolution number R09-2025 approving the disposal of a Public Works skid steer and purchase of a new Public Works skid steer from Atlas Bobcat. Resolution number R10-2025 approving the disposal of the Public Works Freightliner hook lift and F-450 trucks and purchase of a Public Works hook lift and trucks from Linco Equipment Sales. Resolution number R11-2025 approving the disposal of a Public Works combination unit and the purchase of a Public Works backhoe loader from Westside Tractor Scales Company. And resolution number R12-2025 approving the final plat of consolidation for the Winnetka Public Library and Library Park at 768 Oak Street.
Thanks, Rob. All right, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved. Oh, second.
That's a roll call vote?
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Alvinson?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving right along. Ordinances and item 8 tonight is ordinances and resolutions. The first order of business is ordinance number M01-2025, granting final approval of a planned development, zoning exceptions, a special use for ground floor parking, and special use findings for medical and financial service uses, 511 to 515 Lincoln Avenue and 714 to 740 Elm Street, whilst AKA 1 Winnetka. This is public hearing, introduction, and adoption. Whew. A public hearing on the ordinance granting final approval of the 1 Winnetka plan development has been advertised for tonight's meeting. Tonight, council will consider the proposed ordinance for a new 4-story mixed-use plan development and resolution related to the plan development and approving a final plat of consolidation. The public hearing regarding the plan development at 511, 515 Lincoln Avenue and 714, 740 Elm Street is now open. Village Attorney Courtney Willits will review the guidelines for the public hearing tonight. Courtney, take it away.
Am I on? No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Everyone who desires to speak tonight on the matter will be sworn in by the President. Staff will provide a brief summary. The applicant will provide their presentation. The public will be then able to comment. Council will be able to ask questions. The applicant can then respond, and then the village will deliberate.
Okay. I have an oath. Okay, anyone who is interested in speaking tonight, will you please raise your right hand? So it'll be 5 of you, okay? Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. All right, Community Development Director David Schoen is going to walk us through the project. Go ahead, David.
Good evening. The village president indicated what we're here for this evening, and that is to review the final plan development. The council's consideration of the final plan development submittal is determine if the applicant's final plan for development conforms substantially to the approved preliminary plan. It's not unusual between preliminary plan development approval and final plan development approval that an applicant makes adjustments to their plans as an applicant finalizes its building interior layout and details for how it will construct the development. There's a few items I'm going to go over that are slightly different from the preliminary plan approval. As was mentioned in the staff report, the building height has slightly increased. The rooftop access stairs have been increased by 2 feet to accommodate the firefighters who may need to access the rooftop. And then the parapet wall across the top of the building has been increased by 6 inches to accommodate a roof rigid insulation system. So the highest height of this parapet wall will still be in the northeast corner. It'll just be 6 inches taller at 57 feet 10 inches. The applicant has revised window and door fenestrations on almost all levels to accommodate some minor changes to floor plans within the interior of the building. The most significant change is located on the Elm Street facade, which is illustrated in this image. The stone expression at the center of the Elm Street facade has been adjusted from a 2-part expression to a 3-part expression to coordinate with interior unit layouts. Due to the need to locate building support pillars in specific locations, as they've refined their design, they've had to reduce the number of parking spaces by 2 from 113 to 111 to accommodate those pillar placements. The project still continues to comply with the minimum number of required residential parking spaces by our zoning ordinance, which is 96 spaces. The approval documents provide for a license agreement to allow the developer to use 1 space in the Elm Street parking lot for the location of a temporary electric transformer, as well as periodically to designate the westerly row of parking spaces as a safety zone during demolition and construction of the eastern wall of the building. With the preliminary plan approval, the lighting controller for the streetscape improvements associated with the One Winnetka development was to be served from the proposed pad mount transformer that's located on the northeast corner of the building, if you recall. Since then, as the applicant has refined their plan, they've had to change the design of the transformer to have a different voltage to accommodate a new state law that requires new multifamily residential buildings to be capable of providing residential parking spaces with electric vehicle charging stations. This different voltage, we're not able to come off it to serve power to the streetscape elements. Given this change in voltage, we've had to identify a location for a separate transformer. So in this image, we're showing where we've identified as a location. We worked with Ciorba, our engineering designer for our streetscape improvements. We studied several locations. This location became the most appropriate, as was described in the staff report. On the right here, you can see the lighting controller and the transformer. This is about the scale that these pieces of equipment will be. So we've identified the location, and then we've worked with the applicant, and given the cost of this improvement, staff has worked out an agreement with them that they would split the cost of locating the transformer and the lighting controller in this location. We estimate the cost of constructing the retaining walls to create an area on this embankment and the pad, as well as to purchase the equipment and install it along with all necessary conduit and cable to go to and from it, is going to be about $250,000. We continue to work with the applicant to see if there's some way how we can minimize that cost in this location, but that's the agreement that has been incorporated into the approval documents. Village staff and the owner have worked on refinements to the construction staging plan to minimize impact on surrounding businesses, residents, commuters, and property owners. As with the preliminary plan development approval, the owner continues to use the adjacent sidewalk and parking areas on both sides of the site, so on Elm and Lincoln. The Public Works staff was able to identify a way where we could maintain some angle parking spaces on Lincoln. As you may recall, we're going to be narrowing the travel lanes there. Lincoln Avenue is wider than necessary, so we're going to be able to maintain some about half of the parking spaces in this area. But even with that, we're going to be having a displacement of a number of parking spaces with the project. So given the loss of parking, we've identified ways to accommodate parking for customers, employees, and commuters during the construction project. And so what we've identified is designating, again, this is just temporary during the construction, parking spaces along Village Green as commuter spaces on the south and west side, and then on the north side, employee parking spaces. What this does is frees up all the parking on Lincoln Avenue for customers of the business district, as well as the parking spaces in the Elm Street parking lot. Currently, the southern half is for commuters, and this portion is for employees and 2-hour parking, though 2/3 of it is actually used by employees currently. We've also identified some parking spaces in the Lincoln Avenue parking lot that we could designate for employees that aren't currently being used to capacity by customers. But this way, we believe, at least on Lincoln Avenue, we're creating a street presence parking area for customers of the district. And then also additional parking will be available for customers in the East Elm parking lot. Of course, as the project moves forwards, we will continue to monitor the parking situation and make adjustments as necessary, because we know how important it is to the businesses, the residents that live in the district, and commuters. So after this evening, Liz DeChant and I will be working on messaging, getting the message out to the various user groups. preparing them for the adjustment that will be, this temporary adjustment that would be occurring with the construction project. And then lastly, the applicant has provided a construction schedule. Currently, their goal is to start in April and be substantially complete in October of 2026. The applicant is here to answer any questions you may have. I'm also, here to answer any questions. With that, I'm finished.
Great. John, do you want anybody to speak? Any presentation? Okay. Questions from council? For David?
Just about the parking, is that the entire length of the project until October 2026? Or is there a time that some of those spots will reopen prior to the end?
For most of the time, this would be the parking. The streetscape improvements that would need to occur, the realignment of the curb lines will come to near the end. But again, as we move along, we'll continue to try to identify how we can free up the parking spaces sooner.
The parking spaces by the Village Green, are you actually going to stripe those?
We may stripe them. We haven't worked out the details yet, but we probably will, just to ensure that we get the number of parking spaces we would want to have available. As you know, if someone just parks somewhere, we can lose potential spaces, so it's pretty likely that we would.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
that-
David, what's, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, but you'll scrub that off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we'll talk about how we can
Right.
do it.
Yeah, because it is a residential district.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, David, remind me, what is the parking, what I'm going to say, like one ring out from all that? Like going up Maple, up Arvida in that area? What are the parking restrictions? Is there parking allowed on those streets now, normally? I'm
there-
worried about, spillover.
There is
and
parking
expanding
already
more into the
allowed on
neighborhoods.
Elm Street and Oak Street. The block over, there is parking allowed. I know, I can't tell you off the top of my head what the time limits are.
Okay. I don't know, we might want to
So-
look at that, so.
So generally, one side of the street would be available for residential parking, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry, around the park you're talking
No,
about?
I'm saying, I'm envisioning, let's say, what the plan is not adequate or for shoppers or commuters, and so more people start parking in those surrounding streets, neighborhoods that would never have parked there before to shop or take the train downtown, et cetera. So I was wondering if it's like a 4-hour limit, is it only one side of the street, your point? And I mean, perhaps I'm thinking of an issue that might never occur, but maybe we want to be aware of that if we hear from neighbors that it becomes an issue that something becomes excessive on those streets
Sure.
that wasn't there before.
Yeah, and we're going to definitely keep an eye on this project and the others that are occurring in the downtown now. As you may recall, and we'll be presenting to you in February, an amendment to our agreement with Safe Built. We're going to be bringing on some temporary help to keep an eye on not only the construction activity, but also within the area, to ensure that contractors aren't parking where they're not supposed to be parking, keeping an eye on where people are parking to see what adjustments we need to make, and that plus all the standard construction site maintenance issues, roads staying clean, not blocking the roads for unreasonable amounts of time. So
Okay. That's all.
Yeah, Trustee Handler, good points. I think we'll go back out and check the signage in those surrounding neighborhoods. One of the ways we've signed historically to prevent commuters parking in residential neighborhoods near stations is to say no parking before 10 a.m. So that most commuters are hitting the train well before then.
Right.
So we may need to add a little bit more signage in the surrounding neighborhoods
it
to
out.
say no commuter parking in those areas, only residential parking.
Okay. Yeah,
Go ahead, Kim.
The other question I have is on this transformer and lighting controller. I understand why now things have changed in terms of the requirements, but I don't understand why where would the lighting controller have been before you had to put both on this pad by the train station? It sounds like, was the lighting controller going to be there already?
It may be, given both of them, we need to find a larger area. And then in terms of this transformer serving the streetscape, the best location is try to find a location where there is going to be, when you send the electric cables out to feed your lighting, you want it to be kind of in a middle point so it's an equal distance. Because if you put it at one end, the copper cables have to get so large to carry the power to the far end that it becomes problematic to feed the lighting elements because the cable has become so big. So in combination, we're putting them both in the same location on this corner because this is the best location to put it.
Okay, had it been placed somewhere before, maybe that's what I'm trying to decide or understand why.
Kim, I think they had it in the northeast corner. There was actually a little fence and gate sort of thing there.
Oh,
but
okay,
it-
so this, so
But
it's.
this got too big and
Okay,
Generally should go together.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. I just want to understand really what the difference was. Thank you, David.
Back on the parking, David, apologize if you did mention this. Where will the contractors park?
The contractor is responsible for identifying locations outside of the area and transporting the workers in. I don't know if this project, I don't believe they have unless they've identified that location yet, but that's what the agreement says. The construction and logistics plan and the approval documents say they need to find locations outside.
Do we
And
allow,
I take it that same requirement applies to the Chase project as well?
Yes, it
and
does.
Ishbia. Yeah.
do we allow them to park on their own property until they can, or no?
We generally allow contractors, if
Yeah.
they can fit the vehicles on the property, it's just, they also need the area to, for staging of materials.
Oh, no question, yeah.
And then
For
equipment
a
to
while, it
move
only-
around the site.
It only
so-
works for a certain amount of time, but
Yeah.
still not bad.
Couple questions, and this is, I think you guys are doing a really good job, anticipating the crunch of construction traffic and parking and all those issues, and I'm sure there's a lot of refinement that goes on once the project, is up and running. I would just think about, and this actually came up with Chase, thinking about more handicap spaces on the street for customers, because I think that's some of the feedback I shared with Liz. We're hearing for some of the businesses with the Chase construction is there's not enough handicap on-street parking. And so I think that's just something to keep in mind when we look at that along Lincoln for the customers, right? One thing I think we talked about, and I don't know if there's been more refined plans, but where's the sales office going to be for the development? Is it going to be in, within the Elm Street corridor? How are they going to handle sales?
I can let them address how they plan to handle leasing.
Yeah,
Yeah, from that leasing perspective, we'll just
I
have-
think you need to come, yeah.
We're just going to plan on having a sales office or leasing office within the building
Okay.
upon
So
completion.
you're not going to try to do any leasing prior to the building?
No, we've already got a list of people that have
Yeah.
asked to be there, so we really don't have any concerns right now at this point.
Okay,
But, there's not going to be a sales trailer or,
Right.
something like.
or storefront, or?
No,
And you're not anticipating demand from, people coming into the leasing office on parking?
no, I mean, if there were, it'd be within the building. It's already been completed,
Okay,
so.
that answers my question, thanks.
Couple things. Dave, can you pull that height, the look of the new proposed height on that? If you could just pull it back up, just curious. It's interesting, as we've been in the farmer's market the last couple of years, over half the questions have been, when is it getting done? So this is a pretty exciting moment here. And the fact that I think the reaction to the design has been really positive from everyone, which is unusual, but really comforting to see. So I would just want to understand that the design, what has changed. There's a couple, I know there's 6 inches higher. I know the fire access has to be higher. I don't think it's going to be that noticeable from the street. I don't think it should be, not a big deal. And that was it, but there's one facade change, you said, on this? You had it side by side? Okay, so it really is pretty immaterial. It's just not much there. Okay, I just wanted to make.
Better.
Yeah, I do too. Looks better.
Sorry, John. Twalty.
And then trying to address the parking, there's a couple things. It says there's 150 parking spaces, 39 spaces at ground level for commercial uses. I assume, I shouldn't assume, is that only for your commercial? Or is it for anybody in the town?
Yeah, it's public.
It is public, okay. So anybody can access. Okay, that's great. Are there any reserved spots for your commercials, or everyone just kind of?
Yeah, but that would not be part of that. That would be within.
Great, that's great. Okay. I know in certain areas where parking is challenging, communities, and I know like Caruso in LA and the Palisades, what's left of it, they had valet parking, and I'm not sure if that's something that we ever consider, but as it gets tighter for a certain amount of time at certain key hours, have that ability to offer that service for, if you're able, that's great, but if, we want to respect the seniors trying to find parking as well, and that aren't handicapped, but also may have more difficulty. I don't know if we've ever considered that. Rob, do you know, or anybody?
Yeah, I mean, we've got users now that, if there's a restaurant that ends up there.
Right.
We're talking to one right now, they for sure would have valet service throughout their, hours of operation.
Okay, so you do it for your building. I didn't know if there's something we offer in Winnetka even, because I know other communities have done it.
We do not provide valet service. We offer a license so that a restaurant or business can
That's it.
secure their own valet operator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it, there's a couple.
So the Pomeroy has it, uses it
Yep.
regularly. Town and Oak has a valet license. Spirit Elephant has had a valet license.
Is anybody using it besides Pomeroy, who's actually in practice?
Town and Oak,
Town Oak does?
yeah.
Okay.
And I've seen valet at,
Spirit Elephant.
from time to time, yeah.
Okay. But in practice, we've never done it in the village.
Not as a village service, no.
Okay. And I'm just thinking of key times on weekends or something that maybe we think about, just because it may be I don't know, hopefully it won't be an issue, but if it gets become an issue, just an FYI. We also talked about narrowing the travel lanes. I've had a lot of feedback about what has happened on Lincoln. It's become a little bit of bumper cars. People trying to back out, and it's as little as we might be doing it. I just want to make sure we're walking into this, looking at what's going on in Lincoln with backing into each other, versus before we go ahead and narrow Lincoln again. I don't know if any.
And left turns into the angled parking. We've heard
That's
feedback on
bad
that.
too, yeah. Glencoe
You
shut
mean
that down.
people illegally turning into
Yeah.
parking spaces?
They see a spot, they're going to go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, so again, the width of the travel lanes on the south half of Lincoln Avenue are much wider than they ever were on the north end. So we are just widening the sidewalk on the east side to reduce those travel lanes to more standard travel lane widths. Right now, they're more than
But
the
they're not going to get
standard.
down to the other side of Lincoln because that is narrow.
No.
Okay. And the transformer we talked about, I think that's okay. I just want to make sure it's landscaped and properly and hidden as best it can be hidden.
Yep.
Okay.
spots are, like the truck route and where parking is. Will all this be added to, or similar versions be added to the website for the One Winnetka project so people can
Yeah, and
get
we'll
all
be
that
getting the
information,
word
plus
out.
newsletter, et cetera? Okay.
Yes, we, as we did with the Chase Bank, Liz and I will go door to door to the businesses. We will, and we passed out information explaining what was occurring, timeline, provided maps. We'll be designing some different maps that are more clear for the public to understand than what we presented this evening. So yeah, we will have that information available.
Thank you. I know that takes a lot of thoughtful work. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh, and I just want to follow up on that. I think the newsletter is really, really nice because I think you provide, and I'm sure it'd be the same in this project where you've got the project on-site project manager for, in this case, would be Walsh, right? As a
Whoever the
con-
project contractor is, yeah, we will work with them just as we've worked with Skender for the
Yeah.
Chase Bank to put out a regular newsletter. We will work with the contractor on providing them our email list.
Yeah.
And also, when necessary, getting the word out by hard copy.
Yeah, and I think that's been nice because it gives the businesses, like if they notice that somebody's parking in front of their business who doesn't, they can contact, so that's really a nice thing that the department, you put together, so thank you.
Okay, time for public comment. So I have two names on, and I think 5 or 6 people raised their hands. So we'll start with the people that have signed up first, and then I'll call up anybody else after that. So the first person on this list is John Phelan. You're going to give your time? No, you don't get 6 minutes. You get 3 minutes, period. Frank's on here, too. Oh, okay. Well, then Frank.
Hi, Council. I'm Frank Petrick. I live at 711 Oak. First, let me report we've had some nice discussions with Dave Ariola, who is a project manager. We're seeing if we could work out a deal where they get an easement to put a retaining wall on our property. So we're going to be exchanging proposals, and we'll see if we can make that work, because that's something new that none of the first 7 projects, to my recollection, proposed a retaining wall on our property. So we're working on it. But we're pleased with the cooperation. They inspected our garage, took photographs with their engineers, just to make sure that, there's no damage now or damage later. I did, and thank you all. Believe me, it's been a long road. I did want to comment, though, on the angled parking on Lincoln. I got popped in Wilmette outside of Eva Dean's Saturday breakfast. The guy that hit me parked on the other side of my law partner. So he admitted liability. He backed up around my partner's car and hit me when I wasn't moving. So my point is that I'd like the council to consider, maybe the police, signs that prohibit pickup trucks from parking on Lincoln Avenue in the diagonal. Chris, I'm sorry, but
I drive a pickup truck. You can't do this to me.
well, get a little Audi like I got. They're a lot easier to park.
I've never hit anybody on Lincoln.
No, because you're a good driver.
Thank you.
This guy admitted liability. I had pictures, I had a witness. So, but it's just something, it's a concern, because right now it is very easy to drive south of Elm Street. And even with the narrowing that Dave Schoen talked about, there still should be plenty of room, but it is bumper cars north. Yeah, it is. So Becky and I just walk there. That's another nice thing about living 711. So thanks very much, everybody.
Frank, I did want to say too that just so everybody at the dais knows and those out in the audience, no easement, no permit. So that we have protections built in to make sure that you guys get things sorted out before this thing takes off. So
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris.
I got your back. That was it since John, now you want to talk. Oh, okay. Did anybody else want to speak on this matter? No? Going once? Well, just on the one Winnetka issue. Come on up. Need your name, though, so I can commit you to the public record. Yes.
Good evening, and thank you for the time. Today, my name is Kelly McNamara Corley, and I'm a 25-year resident of Winnetka. I live on Arborvitae, so there was some discussion about that road earlier. And I'm here with some other residents of Arborvitae, and we have some others in the audience that might want to stand as well, but we have the whole neighborhood here.
Except your trustee.
Yeah, where is he? Exactly. So anyway, thank you for the time. We come here with several ideas and some recommendations that we've actually discussed with village staff and have just recently begun engaging with the developer. We are concerned just based on the proximity of our street to the construction area itself, the fact that the building has been empty for as long as it's been empty, and just the sheer magnitude of the project. And so we have three, just to cut to the chase, we've got three areas of concern. Number one is rodent and pest abatement. As the construction unfolds and before the construction. We've been asking to see an abatement report and just get comfortable with the plans that the developer has. We've not seen the formal plan. We had an email today that came through before this meeting, but we're still missing just some details about what the rodent and pest plan is for the property, both leading up to the construction, but then also once demolition and construction is underway. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is related to air quality, so asbestos control and other particles that might be flying around during the construction. We have a number of elderly people on our block, as well as a large number of children that are family members and also grandchildren, and we just have some concerns about the overall cleanliness and safety of the area during the construction. And the final, and perhaps most important, is just the traffic pattern on Arborvitae during the construction period. We got together as a group in the fall, right before the holidays, and we had almost every resident of the street at that meeting. And we posed the idea of closing off Arborvitae at Elm during construction and making our one-way street a two-way street just for residents during the construction period. And we think that that will prevent more people from coming through that street, from parking on that street, and also provide some safety for again, the children and the elderly folks walking around. It's a narrow street, and if we know it's a two-way street during a limited time, we feel like we'd be more on the lookout for hazards, and there'd just generally be less traffic. So those are our three asks.
Because that last one, I know was brought up before, and I spoke with Rob about this before the meeting. Because I said, that's a perfect idea, just shut it off there. But what about delivery trucks?
And fire and police.
Well, I mean, it would be temporary, so they'd be able to get through, but.
I think one thought we had is that you could use one of those barricades like they use for the music festival that are movable in an emergency, but are there to prevent people from generally cutting through the street.
What about Amazon and UPS and XYZ delivery services coming in and then trying to navigate a U-turn in the middle of the street?
They could still come in through Pine, and then at the end of the street, they can turn. So we don't see that as an issue.
How do they turn around? That was the only thing that we couldn't figure out. How do they turn around?
You're talking about dead-ending Arborvitae into Elm. So yeah, they'd have to turn around.
They'd have to turn around. So, I mean, that's a great idea, and actually, it was the first thing that came to my mind, but the government guy here says, well, what about trucks? So, and that is a good point. And if somebody comes in with a small semi or something, then you really got, I mean, they could always back out, I guess, right? But it's.
But on a day-to-day basis, when Amazon comes through 10 times a day,
No.
Just
So-
have them
The
turn
app
on.
Well, look,
delivery
I mean,
truck,
look,
right?
at this point, that was the only hook on that one that was a problem, was, you know, the day-to-day delivery stuff and how that might all happen. And there might be a way to solve that problem too, I don't know yet, but it was, just came up in conversations.
Well, especially because there's street parking on Arborvitae too, so
Right.
it makes it very narrow.
It's very narrow,
yeah,
and
I
even
mean,
with the existing parking, a number of us have mentioned that if you're not right within the blocks, you can't get your car out of the driveways there, so it is narrow.
So I think I mean, that's one we're just gonna have to keep thinking about and see if we can come up with something that's gonna work for everybody. What were the other two? Oh,
Rodents.
The rodent abatement and...
John, what about the road? I mean, are you guys talking to somebody who's gonna do a plan for that, and you can share that with them?
Yes, we're happy to share. I mean,
Right.
It's not uncommon to find a lot of field mice, from time to time rats, but I think at one point there was a fox in the basement or something.
He's all over town.
Yeah, he's since left. But yeah, we're happy to share. I mean, we're pretty vigilant on those things because of, you know, the way PD is set up.
Well, and I would just say, we have folks on our block who are familiar with development and are not trying to find a way to block this. It's just some transparency and a dialogue would go a long way, I think, on that particular topic. And we've
Yep.
been, it hasn't been clear how to get that information till
It's been
right now.
relatively dry too. There's no moisture that would, you know, kind of feed into that kind of rodent issue. But we're happy to share our reports with you. And we react to them as well. So
That's great. Perfect.
Well, and then just on the demolition permit, there has to be, under Illinois law, an asbestos abatement plan before they can get their demolition permit. So we're fortunate to live in a state that highly regulates the asbestos removal, and so that will be all looked at before the demolition permit is, to address your concerns about air
Great.
quality.
And will there be an adequate period of time for us to, if we have to formally request to look at those documents, will there be enough
Well,
time
there's
for
no
us to do that, or a
documents.
process?
I mean, it's a
There are no
pretty
documents per
rigorous
se.
standard. I mean,
So there's a standard they have to meet rather than a report
Illinois
that's
state
produced?
law, air quality standard.
And typically, the asbestos gets removed before you start wrecking the main structure, so all the bad stuff typically is removed before you start making all the dust and the dirt and everything else. They will be required to hose down their demolition on a regular basis to keep the dust, and they will not be permitted to do it on Saturday like all the home builders do in this town. The home builders like to wreck on Saturday because there aren't as many village people around to keep them in check, so, but we're not gonna let Murphy do that, so.
Great. Anything else you guys want to offer? Thank you.
I'm Jim Torvik, one of the neighbors also, and, you know, you've kind of stumped us with the delivery trucks. We talked about fire trucks, but we didn't talk about the delivery trucks. And whether or not there'd be a way for the Amazon truck to turn around, probably in somebody's driveway is how they would have to do it. It doesn't seem unreasonable to me to have, at least try it and see how it works out. I think that the control of construction traffic, construction worker parking is a real problem. We have parking only on one side of Arborvitae, and it's limited to 2 hours, and it does start at 10 o'clock. It's generally not a problem for the people who are living there, but with the increased frequency of traffic on Elm Street, there is a concern about it, and people cutting through there, and speed is always a concern, especially with the number of children around. So I think it's something we want to be vigilant about, and the idea of Bob Dearborn volunteered to go out and move the barricade for the garbage truck. So, you know, I mean, if people are thinking about this.
He's gonna have his hands full for the next few years.
Well, it's not a bad thing to have a problem like that.
You can use Bob.
I'm glad I'm moving out.
You can use Bob's lawn as a turnaround. He said it was okay.
They can turn around in Bob's driveway. I think that
Or his
solves
lawn, either one's
it right
fine,
there.
yeah. Use-
We would volunteer our driveway as well, but.
I wouldn't mind giving it a try the way it is, to see if there's really, you know, before prognosticating that there's going to be this terrible traffic. If it happens that way and there are people are cutting through, I think then you can, you know, we have Plan B, which is find a turnaround, make sure there's no parking behind that turnaround. But I'm not, I mean, I don't know if I'm forecasting it would be that much additional traffic to you. If it becomes a problem, then maybe we consider.
Well, the good news is you have a voice that will be able to,
Yeah.
no matter what we end up doing.
But
I'll
he's
make a
not here.
commitment that we'll look at this a little bit closer and see if there's something on the traffic issue that can be dealt with.
We'd appreciate that.
Thanks.
Yeah, so my name is Carolina Polo. I am from 558 Arborvitae Road. I spoke here before. And I just want to first thank David Schoen. He's been on the phone with me, I don't know for how many hours, and I emailed him multiple times. So David, I just want to publicly recognize you for, being attentive to our emails. And Dave Ariola, I don't know who he is. Hi. And you and I have also contacted in the past. What I would love is to have the document for rodent control. And I know we talked about it, and I just want to make sure that it's not just if we find, we'll tell you, but seeing what are the actions. We just want to be involved in that, especially because there's restaurants across the street, and they face right, to the back of our houses. So restaurants, trash, rats, and the proximity that we have, we're just very cognizant about that. And on the traffic side, one of the things I wanted to add, which I told David, is if Elm gets stuck for some reason, the people in Arborvitae need to be able to use that as a two-way street to go out through Pine. Like, we cannot be stuck. Our street ends on Elm. So another idea would be, what if we change traffic and make it from Elm to Pine? I don't know if that's better or worse, but the fact that we end up on Elm, I think it's part of the issue. Because if Elm gets a lot of traffic, if it gets closed during construction for some reasons, then we're stuck and we wouldn't have a way out. So I know that you're looking into the traffic. We really appreciate, being flexible. It's a one-way street. It's very narrow. There's not that many residents. And as we said before, we're all in alignment, and the block has really gotten together behind this. So thank you.
Great. Okay, would anybody else like to speak?
Hi guys, good evening. I'm Lexis Surratt. I live at 705 Oak Street. I recognize a few of you, but I didn't get the emails. Apparently you guys did, so I haven't met you or anything. I did get the letter in the mail saying that you had this meeting tonight, and I'm grateful that I was able to make it. I'm a single mom. I have 4 children, and one with cerebral palsy. She's in a wheelchair. And I'm right across the street from the veterinarian's office, where there's that massive parking lot, and kind of like a major throughway too for pickup and drop off. And my 4 kids go to 2 different schools in the morning, so I'm with you. I don't like rodents and at all. Not a fan. I echo your concerns. And with traffic, I do as well. I am not from around here. I moved here 6 years ago. I've found that many people don't really understand the right of way. So maybe they need a little reminder on that one. I think that could be helpful. With the parking lot by the veterinarian's office, I've noticed that the whole back side of it is not being used. The preschool across the street has that pickup and drop off loop. But I think behind it could be really cool for potentially a valet, or for construction, just if you're going to be there all day. It could be, I think it could be helpful. I'm just thinking. And also the bank by the community house. There's a lot of parking over there that's seemingly empty most of the time. What are the hours of your construction plan? The hours?
Construction hours are.
I'm sorry, I missed part of the meeting.
Construction hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturdays, 9 to 6.
Yikes. So that's fun. My kids are 11 and under, and that's, you know, that's going to impede on lifestyle for over a year, but okay. I would like to request somehow a handicapped parking spot in front of my house, because for my daughter, I have a very large vehicle now for her power wheelchair, which is awesome. But with the preschool already, people will park right in front of my house, so it's already hard to pull out and see oncoming traffic on Oak. In conjunction with, I loved what you said, handicap parking, we need an uptick in just awareness in general, but do please take note of that for your project. That's just a safety concern. I think that in addition to that, I do like the styling of it. I think it looks great. I love what it will do. If we can all just keep these things in mind, like everyone said, in this area, in this small area that this is going to be built, there are so many children. I coach 2 soccer teams, and we all practice at Village Green. And they run across these streets, and it's critical that you keep that in mind. The reason that I do love it here is because so many kids get to run freely. So when you bring people in for business, for building and all of that, just as long as that's made aware, don't take that away from them, is all I'm saying. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, last call. Would anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, I will now close public comment, and I will also declare that the public hearing is now closed. So, now we have some decisions to make. One of them would be to waive introduction. It's been noticed that we can do that. It's up to you guys to decide whether or not you're comfortable.
Yeah.
3
Yes.
there, 2 there?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll go down that path then. Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M1 2025?
So moved.
Second?
That's a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Okay, now may I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M01 2025?
So moved.
Second?
That's a roll call vote?
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
And that does it.
Okay, and finally, resolution number R07 2025, approving the final plat of subdivision for 511, 515 Lincoln Avenue and 714, 740 Elm Street.
So moved.
And this is up for adoption.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
That's a voice vote, I think.
Nope.
You got a roll call? Okay. Pardon me? Pardon me? Pardon me? Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Handler? Yes. Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
That motion carries, thank you, and congratulations. I want to say this is the 3rd time I sat on a council that has reviewed a development agreement for this property. 3 times.
This is the last time, though.
Let's hope the 3rd time is a charm,
Is a
because
charm.
I'm getting tired of hearing about this project, so.
It's exciting. It's
Good luck,
exciting.
we really wish you the best here, and I think what, you know, the takeaway from all of our meetings is, you know, now you're one of us, so just be a good neighbor, because, you know, we're in a tight community here, there's a lot of stuff going on downtown, and we really need everybody to just pull together, be patient and respectful of each other, and understand that this isn't forever. So, but thank you.
We're
Look forward to it.
Good luck.
Yeah. All right, moving forward. Old business, there's none. New business, there's none. Appointments, there's none. Closed session, there's none. Yay. And finally, final adjournment. It says there's none, but may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.